I started a new job at such and such last week as a financial business analyst for a transport division of a USA company. My role there would be to develop budgets, manage sales reports, financial forecasts, and month-end reports, and later be in charge of the corporate development aspect of the entire unit. This is my first time doing this and don't have experience in the industry and working at CapEx, since the company I'm with now does not operate similarly. How can I become indispensable in today's environment based on what I just said and beyond being the first in the office and the last to leave? Come up with ideas how to for them to reduce their CapEx and not reduce their ROI. What the banks will do with someone, many assets due to massive default loans, nationalization, socialism. Well, socialism certainly wouldn't be unless perhaps Bernie Sanders gets elected. But I doubt in America if they're going to nationalize any industries. How long will the Saudis flood the oil market? In Canada's oil and gas market doom, the record low prices currently, and the government trying to shut down the energy economy. Canada's in a hurt. They want to do away with the expensive oils, which Canada has a lot of them. What are the top 3 in the world countries for QLA this year? United Kingdom, USA, and Canada, probably. And Germany is a close fourth. What leading indicators are you paying attention to in order to make a determination about different businesses and industries? The markets are a leading indicator telling you what is going to happen in the next 12 to 24 months. But I look at all the indices. I look at the gold, silver, although I don't consider Bitcoin a leading industry. I look at the stock markets. I look at the bond markets. I look at them all. Okay, Mr. Peña, what do you think about convertible loans and what would be preferred option and structure? Now, I don't want you to get regular debt, convertible loans. We have to get a bridge financing for about 20% for 3 deals, same geographic area, total combined 10 million euros. Current banking partners reduce commitment to 50% of the initial 80% of the purchase price. Now listen to this, meatheads. They had originally the banks had said, and this is, I believe, Germany and Switzerland. They'd put up 80% of the purchase price. Now they've reduced it to 50, wanting more equity from us. Owners keep 20% equity per deal. Instead of buying 100% of the business, I'd only buy 70% of the business. My answer, I would aim to structure the loan in a way that the partners can convert this loan into maximum of 20%. You're getting too confusing. Okay. I can keep approximately 60% of the holding company. Great. Convertible loans were brought up by my chairman as a way to engage, etc., investors without giving them direct voting. I just would, I would confront the sellers that the deals change, the world's change, your deal's not worth as much. You've got to put up more seller finance at a reduced price. For myself and any QLA bots in assisted living, other than lower valuations because the market and industry is uncertain, how do we assisted living sector move forward? That's exactly it. Double the output. With countries pumping money to stimulate their economy, should we be calling on every bank to specifically capture these new stimulus funds and to finance the deals? Yes. And these automatically non-recourse. They're not non-recourse if you don't ask for non-recourse. What will the perspectives be of the banks at this point? Reducing their risk and getting more equity in their deals. They want the risk equation to be almost totally on you, not them. My understanding is that the banks are more liquid now. That's exactly true. They're more liquid now, but they also know that if they don't stay that way, they could be in trouble later on, depending on how long this lasts. Should I try acquire deals now? The banks and owners said to me I should wait. Some said 3 weeks. I'd start talking to the deals because the deals aren't going to get done. Remember, I did 15, 20 deals in a row during the collapsing market. By the time I got to the third deal from the first deal, it was worth less. In some cases, I was able to go back and renegotiate lower prices. But normally the lower prices are part of the earnout and additional seller's equity, owner's equity. Do you think the banking system is likely to go down? No. What action would you take now and after the event? I don't expect it to go down. That doesn't mean it won't, but I don't expect it. How much extra debt should our business avail ourselves during this time, if any? Should we take on as much as possible and take part of it, part in all of the government subsidy schemes, incentives, even if we don't need it, and even if we can't be sure to repay it? Yes. Or does it depend on the type of debt? No. You want to get as much in your bank account and take the money out of the bank that lends it to you, or gives you a revolver, or gives you a line of credit, or an overdraft. Put it in another bank so they can't go back and just take it from you. What specific crisis-related action should we take now to gain advantage even far down the road when the crisis is over? Get as much money out of overdrafts and revolvers. Don't worry about paying the fees. Is the assisted living industry still good? Yes, it is. What do you do when you have lost all your savings and not been successful after trying QLA for a year in a place like India? I have now moved to the UK and taken up a job here. Start again. Healthcare. Sellers are really motivated now, but what we do with their brick and mortar business that have no clients. Remember, I didn't want you to buy the brick and mortar. Remember? That's why. Flotation seems not to be an option in the current market. You're correct. You sell to an industry. You can't sell off the brick and mortar. And I'm still haven't forgot our bet about burkas, because I know who you are. You said there will be entire industries eliminated from QLA model as a result of the current crisis. In a later video, you said that tourism, leisure, food, retail, and wholesale are included in this. What other industries are included in this? What about, of course, hair salons, tanning salons, chiropractors will be greatly reduced. I'm about to do my first transaction in Allied, in so-and-so. It's a physio in the UK. Should we wait to complete this deal? No, you can start negotiating the price down now. Keep doing transactions even though the UK industry is in lockdown, but will reflect the lower price. Yes. Wait to close lockdown. No, you're not going to wait till lockdown is over. Lockdown may go the rest of the summer. Any additional guidelines on convincing firms to operate on discounted and deferred fee basis given the current? In fact, they have been more readily acceptable. We've had kids that have gone through 3 creator deals that have gone now to new professionals. They realize this is the time for them to build up a trust factor with new potential clients that are going to be serial entrepreneurs. Where does someone store or invest their money, and what does someone do during a period of hyperinflation or high inflation to get a return on investment? I'm not worried about inflation. You know that Sally and I have been in cash. We keep it in 3 to 4 huge banks, the biggest banks in the world, and we rotate between 2 or 3 different currencies. I'm in the dental business and rolled up practices, and now we are in a hot mess. And I heard Mr. Peña in his March 1, day 1 seminar say dental practices are done. Too much pressure from government and state agencies to shut. They're done. They're not going to be creating money as they used to. I want to navigate and take advantage of this situation, as most of our dental colleagues have taken a back seat. What would Mr. Peña take? I go and see 3 to 5 dental practices a day. How do we adjust our strategies when communicating with sellers during this time? What are some of the points we raise? Just follow the scripts. I've spoken to the banks again, and they inform me that they're very strict in taking on new business due to this period. How do we get through this? As long as the deal is hot, will they finance it? They may or may not. They're probably operating under government guidelines that they should keep existing businesses from going bankrupt. But they will still fund deals. But I'm telling you right now is the time for 100% seller finance. A few months ago, we warmed up the banks in Canada and figured out that the multiples of EBITDA there are comfortable lending using the cash flow business. Now that the situation has changed, should we of course, you got to go back a few months ago. What are you, stupid? How would Mr. Peña navigate this time when potential sellers don't want to meet in person or social? Well, you have to, unfortunately, if you had followed the steps up till now, you have seen a lot of people in person. It's all right to have the third, fourth, or fifth meeting via social distancing using Skype or Zoom, but it will be more difficult. But it's just a numbers game. How to do business in times of imposed quarantine? You have to double your efforts. Aside from healthcare, telco, which industries will be the most resilient, thrive in the next decade post-corona? Well, most are going to be, if not gone. When I say gone forever, if let's just say that restaurants was a $1 trillion business. Restaurants aren't going to be a $1 trillion business anymore, unless they have a takeaway. And you can't. I think it's hard for me to believe that you can deliver as much food as you can serve in a restaurant. Maybe you can. Maybe you can serve more. But you have to look carefully at the models and where the money's coming from. You have to follow the cash. Do you think we will have a problem with currency collapsing? No. What challenges should we expect as the result of the virus market turndown? Self-doubt. And you know how to get around that. How do you best position myself to take advantage of the benefit of the financial system? I've already said that. As governments will be taking on huge debt to survive, what do you think will come out on top? Well, I believe the U.S. will, between U.S., EU, China. In the country where there's no financing for acquisitions, Malaysia, I'm verified with my chairman, who was ex-CEO of top 3 bank, and there's no acquisition financing in the country plus months of cold calling. How would you finance a hot deal? Seller finance. Given the current state of affairs, that cash flow target change we consider reasonable as a possible purchase. 50% less than before. Mind you, 2017-19 numbers in cash flow with 20 to 40% profits shown by some mean nothing today. That's correct. When they're worth 50% less or nothing, and some are worth 0 in the future. Correct. It's a whole new game. What I normally would do, and I've said this before, is I take worse numbers and I'd cut them in half. In your recent QLA seminar on YouTube, you said that the dental practices might get closed. They are closed. What other practices in health? Almost any single proprietorship is closed. My industry is cybersecurity, and it has a limited number of potential targets. Pre-corona, cold calls stats were 50 calls and 10 responses with 4 or 5 potential interests, and 1 or 2 targets proceeded through with providing financials. Now, during corona, the stats for 50 calls are 1 or 2 responses and no potential interest to move to the next step. Since my targets are limited and people in my industry may not be ready to sell during the crisis, should I wait for some time? No. I don't want to burn all the potential targets. By the way, I'm also seeing familiar results via email and LinkedIn. Of course the results are going to be changed. Of course the results are going to be determined. But if you only made 50 fucking phone calls for 5 or 10, I mean, you got to make 500. Remember, you're 2,000 cold calls away from doing a deal. Economic outlook next 1 to 3 years, quick recovery, or like Japanese stagnant price level. It's not going to be as bad as stagnant price level, but it's going to be a slower recovery than we would want. Are mechanical services like plumbing, heating, cooling, and ventilation, fire protection, alarm system a good business to roll up? Well, several of those are considered essential. So the answer would be yes. I have not completed a deal and have KPMG as my accounting firm. My initial plan has to get into my initial plan was to get into residential care bed pans in Australia. My question is really if this is still the best industry to enter, as now the world is in chaos. Would there be better worthy businesses to get into within the healthcare industry? And in terms of deal size, would this be a great opportunity to go bigger? Yes, it's a great honor to go bigger, but some of the money is going to be non-recourse, but if you don't ask, you don't get. How can I prepare myself during this lockdown period to get ready to get in the game? Well, affirmations, goals. In this particular case, you are who you hang around with, so you're not going to be hanging around with anybody, which is good. So just keep me listening to me 24/7, 365. Is HHA home health still a viable business with all the? Yes, it still is. Assuming the following: the majority of the banks, at least in Australia, are asset-based lenders, and given the assets will be worth less. For many businesses with existing loans, this crisis will increase with a loan-to-value against their assets, and those businesses will suddenly be outside the bank's loan-to-value policy. The bank's current metrics for lending will become antiquated, and increasing numbers of banks' existing client portfolio will struggle meet their debt repayments. Banks are stopping repayments on request, capitalizing interest and extending the term. However, this can't last and won't be enough to save many businesses. I agree. Do you foresee banks becoming far more cash flow focused in the short term or in the long term? Yes. And less loan to value focused? Yes. Because you can't determine what the real loan to value is without cash flow. Will they favor lending to strong operators and boards that have experience dealing with tough times? Yes. What does that mean for QLAers? How do we take advantage of the bank's position if and when they become cash flow lenders? You've got to be getting in front of as many banks as possible now. During the Black Swan event, should we source and intend buying public? That question has already been asked. What will the long-term effects of virus be in the industry, economic, especially regarding home? It's going to make more people. They're not going to build more homes, so they're going to put less people in fewer homes. So that's going to increase. That's going to decrease their cash flow. So we need stronger homes, cash flow wise. I've got $40 million to spend on buying. I've got about $40 million to spend on buying a warehouse for our business. Should we do this or wait until next year? Start renegotiating the price now. Have healthcare service multiples increased or decreased in Asia Pacific? They have to have decreased. Or the respective impact on the virus decreased. Is the over-exaggerated hype about Corona being encouraged by governments and powerful entities, specifically in order to shift more wealth to the big players? No. If so, no, nobody's benefiting from this. The people in the biggest cash positions are going to be the biggest benefactors. Can we still make money doing deals in industry suffering from COVID? Yes. How can we attract heavyweight candidates for the board of directors when all the attention is focused on coronavirus and economy collapsing? I've got several guys, by the way, since the 1st of March, every week, the QLA bots have closed deals. A couple of kids have closed multiple deals. These deals have been closed in Canada, United States, Germany, the UK, South Africa. During these, and at the same time, these deals have been being closed. People are still adding to their boards of directors. People that are just getting started. Deal structuring. Any adjustments suggested on the 60-40 model? No, other than 60% was bank finance, 40% was seller finance. But now you would probably you can improve that to where 100% seller finance. Any strategies besides going 100% seller finance? That's the best, without putting money out of your pocket. I never want you to pull out money out of your pocket. If you're working on the board, what can you practice to get better results? More presentations, pendejo. Which market should we focus on? The situation I already told you. Healthcare, avoid everything that has anything to do remotely with retail. What are the trouble times layers that are needed? There's no extra layers other than more calls. You have to increase your output. Which real estate sector will you have greatest impact? Which real estate sector will have the greatest impact from this recession? Medical office buildings, I wouldn't touch with a barge pole. Retail, I wouldn't touch with a barge pole. Individual residents will probably be the least, other than the kids that own them or are renting them or leasing them are going to have less money to pay their rental payments. I was wondering what Dan would do in this situation. Wait or no? I wouldn't wait. You just keep pulling the trigger. Outside of the health and artificial intelligence, what other industries do you think will have gains? I've already said that. Okay.